street to know what banditry is all about. A bandit is usually somebody who wants to take whatever you have from you by force of arms, whether you like it or not. And in most cases, you are not able to defend yourself. And if you try to, you may get killed. And this is something that's been happening for centuries all over the world. But in our own case, there are reasons why we're in the sort of situation in which we are today. And I think we will discuss that later. But whether it's banditry, criminality, or whatever you call it, they develop over time. They just don't start overnight. And if you don't watch and try to find a way to either prevent, and if you cannot prevent, to deter, and if you cannot deter, to mitigate it, or enforce by whatever means, then you will find yourself in a sort of situation that you have in Nigeria today. But there are so many other factors too that we need to consider when we talk about banditry or criminality in Nigeria. And when we get there, we will discuss that, but that's what I will call banditry.
All right, General. Is banditry an act of terrorism in Nigeria? Because we have seen so many ways of their abductions and operational definitions on how they invest territory of Nigerians. And by the time, we have heard our leaders, especially the APC government, telling us that these people, our investors, are foreigners. And we want to know, can foreigners be bandits and miming Nigerians? Is it possible where we have the military apparatus in Nigeria?
See, we've got to start from the fundamental. First of all, there are two basic fundamentals. One is to talk about safety. And safety is bottom up. Okay? Security is top down. What is safety? Safety starts from the community level. Okay? When a community is safe, the local government is safe. When local government is safe, the state is safe. And when the state is safe, there's safety in Nigeria, there's stability. Therefore, the cry for community policing is based on the fact that if you want a safe country, you have to start from the bottom, from the community itself. Okay. But what many people do not understand is that community too bear responsibility for their own safety. Because you need to ask yourself a question. If the people in a community are very well behaved, do you need police? If the people in a community, if you live in the street and everybody in that street is law abiding, do you need police? You don't. But the point is this, is that there's some human beings who are just decided to be very bad. And therefore, we need to protect ourselves from those human beings in those communities. Second important thing is this, is that if you have community policing, those you have chosen to protect you also come from that community. And if they come from that community, they should be able to work together with the members of the community to make sure that there's no crime in that community. Therefore, when you look at all these banditry, criminals and things like that we talk about, the whole problem starts from the family and from the communities where they come from, period. But what has been happening is that when the British handed over the safety and security system to Nigeria, Nigeria has never looked at the changes that are happening all over the world and the reforms that are happening all over the world with respect to safety and security agencies. So what we have been doing in Nigeria is just to add on without looking at why are we having all these agencies and what are they supposed to be doing. And therefore, we didn't talk about community policing at all. Whereas most countries in the world have gone into community policing and they have been able to check. Now, that brings us to another important point, and that is, if you compare former British colonies like UK, Australia, and so on, and compare to the United States, for example, or a country like Mexico, what do you find? You find that any country where you find people carrying guns around, and anybody can carry a gun, you have a lot of problems. Whereas if you go to Australia, if you come to UK, for example, you cannot compare UK at all with the United States. You cannot compare at all. And you need to ask yourself why. It is because the communities with the community police are working together to make sure of their own safety. That's what's happening. And we ought to have developed that about 20, 30 years ago. We are just talking about it now. And where we are talking about it, the Nigerian police force does not want to let go to the state and local government, because the local government and the community should be responsible for community policing, and you have the state police sitting on top of this local government. But don't allow them to carry guns. Don't allow them to carry guns. If not, you'll be like the United States. But let me tell you something. Banditry is not terrorism. It is not. It's not terrorism at all. Because a man who steals with arms, he wants to survive, that's all. Because he finds it an easy way. Just like the kidnappers too. They kidnap somebody, they ask for millions of naira, and they get it. What do they do with the money? What do they do with the money? They just spend it carelessly. So they are not terrorists. Terrorists is a different kettle of fish. Completely different kettle of fish. So we cannot put the same in the same box or in the same category. And because we cannot do that, we must find a way of dealing with them separately. That's what I can say on that.
All right, John. Viewers all over the world, if you are joining us, we are on a program discussing about insecurity in Nigeria. Our chief guest is Chief Training Operations and Plans of Nigeria Army, General Ishola Williams. General, you were former Chief of Training Operations and Plans in Nigeria when you were serving decades ago. And as a matter of fact, we have seen and experienced the technical invasion by these bandits. Are we saying that in communities where these bandits are dwelling, there could be no machineries of intelligence by the Nigerian Army hierarchy going by the combatant invasion and techniques of these bandits? Because we once discussed and faulted the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who once said that they have technically defeated terrorism, banditry in Nigeria. Now, you're talking about community policing. And we know that community policing is an indigenous-oriented protection of lifestyle, which involves the elements and strategies. Can there be partnership between community chiefs and indigenous people of the land with the government to stem this security? Because many argue that if community policing should be established, that governors will hijack it. Do you agree with that?
See, the first point I want to make with respect to what you have just said is this. The army should never get involved in anti-banditry operation. Never. The army should not be responsible for counteracting violent criminal elements. It is not their business. When you look at the police, for example, the police has a paramilitary force that they call the MOPOR. They are given special training to be able to tackle, to be able to deal with extreme violence. And therefore, there's no need for the army to be involved in anti-banditry or any of those activities that the army is involved in. The army should focus on the counterinsurgency that is happening in the Northeast. That's what the army should focus on. And let the MOPOL deal with what they are trained to do. That's what should happen. That's what should happen. Okay, now, let me now explain. If you have community policing and the state police, what you need is that you don't need the type of federal police that you have now. What we need is to have the sort of FBI or Scotland Yard that is responsible for investigation across the state, and mobile police to help the state in case of violent crimes. Okay, and in order to ensure that you have standards, same training standards for all the policing in Nigeria, you now have an Inspector General of Police that is responsible for training and standards. Therefore, you need to divide your police now into 3 separate agencies. One, Inspector General of Police, but not the sort of police that we have now. A separate agency, the Mobile Police Command, which is to tackle violent crimes, banditry, terrorism. And they have been trained. Some of them were even sent to Belarus for special training, commando training, the MOPOR. Okay, so they were trained to do that. And then the third one is Criminal Intelligence and Investigation Agency. Once you have that sort of system in place, the responsibility for safety in any state now falls on the shoulder of the governor of that state, because he now has elements legally to be able to take care of that. And that is why in the Southwest, for example, you have the Amotekun. Okay, and then because there's a gap in the Southeast, you have the Southeast Security Network and so on. In the North, they have the Hisba and some of the states have created vigilantes. But what has happened now is this, is that there's confusion all over the place. And that is the fault of the federal government. And it's so easy to restructure the whole thing. And that is why people have been calling for a sort of reform of the whole security architecture of Nigeria, okay? In which you look at all the agencies and see them as the pillar of a safe and stable house, and carrying various responsibility to make sure that that house remains stable. Nigeria has no security problems because there's nobody tackling Nigeria from outside. Nobody. All the problems that we have are within us, whether it's Boko Haram or herdsmen or any other criminals, they're within Nigeria. And therefore, our priority is within Nigeria. But what just need to do is to restructure the forces that we have and create a new, completely security architecture. What has happened is this, is that, like I said before, since the British handed over to us, what we have been doing is just add on. We have never done any serious reform. Or look at the various states that are with us. And if you look at some of the books and policies they said they have written, it just doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. They are not pragmatic, policies. They are not pragmatic policies. And then you also have problems with what you can call security governance. The political authority have no knowledge about what safety and security is all about. They don't. And that is basically because political parties in Nigeria do not have any manifesto when they are contesting for election on how they can deal with the security problems. They have no manifesto at all. They have no manifesto at all. That is why. So by the time they come into government, they are just not ready for whatever security problems or safety problems that you have. Now, what are the safety agencies? I need to clarify that. Policing is part of the safety agency. Civil defense is part of the safety agencies. Federal Road Safety Corps is part of the safety agencies. They are not security agencies. They are not. They are not at all. And if they stick to their mandate, we should not have any problems at all. For example, when they said there were herdsmen in the forest, the Minister of Internal Affairs, who does not know what he's talking about, said civil defense should go and become forest rangers. Recently, because of the attacks on schools and abduction of school children, he said now they are going to be protecting the schools. It is not their business. If the forests are in the state, if the schools are in state, it is the business of the state police and community policing to look after those areas. To look after those areas. What is structured and simple in so many countries, we have complicated it in Nigeria, as if we did not think and we did not know what we are doing. And then what do you have? You have OPC in the Southwest, you have vigilantes, you have hunters, and all of them believe that they are part of security agents. They are not. They are not at all. And they're just creating more and more confusion. And it looks as if those who are security advisors to the governors, they are confused themselves. They don't even know what they are doing. And that is why we are in the sort of situation in which we are today. And above all, we don't have people who are thinking. We don't have people who are thinking at all.
General, and excuse me, please, Paul. Thank you very much for this explanation. Please, Paul, let me know whether my voice is clear. Am I being heard?
Yes, your voice is clear.
Yes, okay. General, you've made some...
There's so much noise on your side.
Really? I'm not hearing...
So much noise, I can't hear you. But I can hear Paul very well. Too much noise on your side when you speak. What's
Wow.
happening?
I'm not getting any noise at all. But are you hearing me now, sir?
Okay, General, can you hear me?
No, there's so much noise. It has stopped. Something is wrong
Okay,
with
General, can you hear me?
Very well.
Can you hear me, Paul? Can you hear me from the Paul?
Paul, I can hear you clear.
Okay, let me try something.
But with
okay, let me try
there's so
something.
much noise.
Okay, are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. You know, sometimes when you'll be making a lot of points, and we want to make these points clear one by one, so that our listeners and Nigerians and the government, who are the target of this discussion, will get the sense of it. So let me start by asking the first question. You were in the army, and you served Nigeria very creditably at one time. Today, the security challenges Nigeria is facing is worse than, say, 40, 30 years, I think 40 years ago when you served the military. Why has it been difficult for Nigeria to manage the security challenges today? Is it that we have an incompetent government? Is it that the security apparatus today is now incompetent? Or is it that Nigeria has changed so much that violence now cascades everywhere? We have banditry, we have terrorism, we have kidnapping, we have armed robbery, name it. In your own time, we only have armed robbery. So what has changed?
What I need to say, I've said some of those things earlier. In every organization in the world, you must have a group of people who are studying the situation, thinking about the present, using the experience of the past, and being able to develop for the future. That is not happening in Nigeria. That's not happening in Nigeria. Secondly, in Nigeria, we believe that when you have a problem, throw money at it. So if you're in a position and you can bring an idea, nobody goes into any in-depth thinking. They just believe that, give them money, and that problem will be solved. Okay? That point is this.
General, I'm sorry. What is different between your time and now? What is different? Because Nigeria has remained the same Nigeria have remained the same people, and yet the security challenges is worse now. Nobody's...
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to explain to you.
Even governors are being attacked.
No, but that's what I'm trying to explain to you. All those countries who are able to deal with their security challenges is because they have a group of people who are always studying the situation, who are always coming up with ideas for reforms to be able to meet the new challenges. It's not happening in Nigeria. What really happens in Nigeria is that just create what I call institutional add-ons. That's what's happening. And when they are created, they create more confusion. Take, for example, Federal Road Safety Corps. Tell me, of what importance is Federal Road Safety Corps? Of what importance? And in addition to that, the states too, like the North, when they started talking about Sharia, they created Hizbahs, law enforcement agencies for Islamic laws. Those ones are there. Side by side with the police who have refused, and it's not their fault. And that's why I was talking about security governance, which is the responsibility of the political authority. This is the point. And because of all these gaps, most political parties in Nigeria do not know what to do about security and safety. They don't. And neither are they prepared for it before getting into government, and once they get into government, they're not prepared.
But General, the person we have now as the president of the country is a general just like you. So even if our governor doesn't know what to do, what about our president, who is a general? Why? Why hasn't he been able to get a grip on the security challenges? Why?
See, in every country, once you have an elected government, they determine what your security architecture will be. They determine that. So if you're in a mess, the buck rests in Aso Villa, sincerely, because they are not listening to people who are asking them to make changes. The second point, which is important in this, is that, and that's to do with human factor. You tell a simple example. The Inspector General of Police keeps talking about community policing. When the Southwest was trying to set up community police system with Amotekun, he was against it. He had got permission from the president to create community policing. But in community policing, you cannot control community policing from Abuja. You cannot. It has to be with the governor. In fact, it has to be with the local government chairman. This is what I'm trying to point out to you. So in most cases, the human factor that is there, in which I do not want to lose my command, my power, and especially the amount of money that is coming in. Recently, the National Security Advisor was accusing the service chiefs who have just retired of some money disappearing and not seeing the weapon system that they use the money for. Okay? Which country can that sort of thing happen? In which a National Security Advisor to the president will be accusing former service chiefs? It shows you that there's something wrong. It shows you the level of incompetence. And except you take care of that level of incompetence, I'm telling you, the situation is going to get worse. That's what I'm trying to point out to you.
This administration came into office with the purpose to tackle corruption. And what you have just mentioned now is evidence of corruption in the military. Why haven't the President Muhammad Buhari been able to tame the corruption in the military, which many people believe is one of the causes of insecurity in the country, military corruption?
See, the best thing now, if you are going to take care of that, of the present situation, is for the governors, for example, the governors to take that responsibility for the safety of their own state and local government. That's what should happen. Okay? And if Amotekun, for example, in the Southwest, can take up their responsibility, they can create a situation in the Southwest in which you won't have so many problems at all. You won't, like you have in the Northeast, like you have in the Northwest, or in Kaduna State in particular. You will not have that. Okay? Therefore, let governors take up their responsibilities now.
But the Constitution has made our Constitution has tied the hands of our governors because it doesn't really allow them to be the chief security officer of their state in practice.
See, the whole thing, this whole thing, come on. For so many years now, the governors have been spending their money on the Nigeria police. And they said so. They spent sometimes up to 300 million naira, 400 million naira. There's a case of a governor of Nasarawa who bought a helicopter for the police. And every time you see governors buying them vehicles and things like that, the police will use the vehicle for 1 year, you won't see them again. Okay. I am not even talking about corruption in the system itself. I'm not even talking about corruption, which is a very, very big issue, you know, within the system. Okay. So if you then reduce the responsibility from the federal level to the state level, like I said, safety from the bottom up, most of these problems will disappear. I can assure you. Most of these problems will disappear.
Questions before I hand over back the ball is this? I know you to be a security expert. I follow your writings on our Yahoo groups and our Google groups. I know what you have said over the years and your ideas about the state of security in Nigeria. Do you entertain the fear that some people have that perhaps there are some outside forces who are hell-bent on sponsoring instability in Nigeria, maybe to cause chaos? Do you entertain that fear?
You see, all these outsiders or no outsiders, there's no way anybody can destabilize your country without the insiders. No way. Okay? If you take the example, they said Fulanis have come from Mali, Niger. You know how far Mali is from Nigeria? We can talk about Niger. And the case of Niger, they've been coming here for the last 50 or 60 years, okay? But their rates, serious, because I've traveled to Yobe State and gone up to the Niger border, which is all desert, okay? During the dry season, they come in force, but they've never crossed the boundary to the south, okay? They've never crossed the boundary to the south. They've always been contained in the north. The second thing is this, is that two things have been a big surprise to me. When people talk about the herders and so on, if you look at the herders, somebody owned the cows. Who are the owners of the cows? Who are the owners of the cows? Two, who gave them guns? Who gave them guns? Who gave them the money to buy guns? And why should you, as an owner of cows, allow your herders to carry guns to defend themselves against who? Against farmers who have no arms? Thirdly, I cannot see, this is where the Francophone countries are better than us. This is where the Francophone countries are better than us. You can never get into any forest or get into a community without being detected. Therefore, community leaders have to explain to me and the traditional rulers, how do those people manage to get there without their knowledge? How? Money. They've been collecting money from those people. And those people feel so confident. Give them money, you can do whatever you like. You can do whatever you like, okay? And what you then discover also too, politicians in Nigeria are politicians. They're not playing politics, they play politics. And that's why we have the situation that you are sort of describing now. And except, like I've said, you start looking at safety from the bottom up and responsibilities for the governors and local government chairs, no way. Abuja cannot solve the problem. Abuja can't solve the problem. Because criminals come from communities, whether urban or rural. They come from communities. Where they come from, they don't drop from heaven. All these ones that they say they come across the border and things like that, I do not believe it.
So are we, the president?
I do not believe it. When they said the people from Libya were bringing in arms, I was in the UN, in the Security Council department, sanctions department for 4.5 years. There's a panel on Libya. When Nigeria complained that there are arms from Libya coming to Nigeria, that panel came to Nigeria twice. They didn't find the arms. They didn't find the arms. And I can also tell you too that if you take a bullet, if you look at the bottom of the bullet, you can determine where that bullet is made. If you take a rifle, you can determine which country that arms are manufactured. Why are we not interested in finding out? Why are we not?
Have any efforts been made to trace the source of arms being and the prevalence of arms proliferation in Nigeria?
Pardon?
Have any efforts been made to trace the source of arms that comes into Nigeria?
I don't know. See, they have two committees. They have two committees, you know, they have two committees who are supposed to be for small arms. What are they doing? I don't know. One under the Ministry of Defense and one under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So what are they doing? That's what I'm telling you. There's a whole confusion. There's a whole confusion. A national security advisor who's supposed to coordinate the whole system. Unfortunately, it's incompetent. It's incompetent. Very unfortunate. Totally incompetent.
Well, let me give floor to some other people to ask their questions.
All right, okay. One more question, please, General. You see, intelligence gathering, we've been told that it's all about collective efforts from the military, hierarchy, and other sister security agencies. And in this situation, we have had a recorded number of times where bandits were being negotiated by Sheikh Ahmed Gumi. And Sheikh Ahmed Gumi is a concerned Nigerian. He recorded a number of times where he went there to bargain with them. If a concerned citizen like Gumi can locate you saying that the whole Nigeria don't trap these bandits and make them eliminated or crush them. They cannot be able to do that.
So, again, it is a glaring example of incompetence of the political authority and the command and control of the security agencies and the military. To me, and I've said so many times, Sheikh Gumi is an Islamic evangelist. That's what he is.
But he knows where these bandits are. Why can't the government work with him and fish them out and crush them?
Yeah, but he has also said too, that the government knows the bandit. He said so. He said the government knows the bandit, and the bandits know, and the government knows where they are. He said so. In fact, when he went to negotiate in Niger State some few weeks ago, he was negotiating with the bandits near a military so they know. And when he has given up, where do you get your guns from? He said you can buy guns like a piece of bread anywhere. So if you can buy bread, so the journalist asked him, where do you buy the bread you call gun? He said, why should I tell you? It means that there's something wrong with your intelligence system. Okay. And not only that, there's also something wrong with your counterintelligence. Because if our boys in the North keep running into ambush and getting killed, something is wrong with your counterintelligence system. Something wrong with your counterintelligence system. So that's what I'm saying. Confusion reigns. Confusion reigns. And it is only the governors and Nassau Villa that can resolve the present confusion that we have. And it's not difficult. It's not.
Okay, can the government claim?
Call Dr. Charles before they start leaving. Dr. Charles, then you can continue with your question.
Good afternoon, General. I want to use the opportunity to thank you for taking time out to come and address us. Your presentation has been very insightful. I've got 3 questions to ask. If you can just address them one at a time. The first question is that what is the way out of the current situation? I know we've talked about the issues, we've addressed, we've discussed about the causes. What are the way out? What strategies do we need? How do we get out of this? That's question number 1. Question number 2, how—
No, let me answer that one.
Okay.
You know, this old brain, this old brain, I've got to take it one by one.
Okay.
It's not as smart as your young one. Okay. Now, that question, I've just made a point. See, in every country, you have research institutions within the organization and outside the organization. What are they doing? They are looking at the present and the future threats and advising the political authority, you need to do this, you need to reform this, you need to form this, you need to change this. It is not happening. So every government that comes into power, they just deal with the problem immediately, and that's all. And it is not lack of think tanks. The army has, intelligence people, they have an Institute for Security Studies and so on and so forth. So the National Defense College, the Armed Forces Staff College, NDA, and so on. Are they not producing ideas? Why are they not being listened to? The NSA, who is supposed to be collecting all these ideas, is it doing what it's supposed to be doing? It's not. That is why we are in this mess. And my suggestion has always been, start taking care of the community safety. If you can do that, you solve 75% of the problem. Start from the community. So what Southwest has done with the Amotekun, if the Amotekun is well trained, I am telling you, there will be safety in Southwest. There's safety in the Southwest. And I've made some suggestions to those who want to listen. Secondly, too, don't make them to carry guns. Like, you know, there are so many gadgets, tasers, stun guns, bullets, rubber bullets, wooden bullets that they can carry, blinding flash that they can carry. They don't need to carry guns. Any country where you have the police carrying guns all over the place, that country is in trouble. Anywhere in the world, that country is in trouble. So, second question, sir.
Right. What would you advise the diaspora to do to be able to intervene in this process? Well, how do you see the diaspora intervention in this matter?
The what?
The diaspora, those of us in diaspora, what do you think we can do? What advice would you give to us to be able to engage this process?
Now, so see, very good question. The issue is this, is that, like I said earlier, are they listening to think tanks? Do they read papers? Somebody said Africans don't read. And it's very true. Ezio Kunine, it's very true. Africans don't read. I run an NGO, I circulate papers, you get a reply and you are sure that that person has not read what you have sent to him. Even ordinary emails. Africans don't read. And if you don't read, how can you get ideas? Okay? How can you get ideas? Now, I remember the case of Reagan. He confessed and said, hey, you guys, you know, I don't like to read long papers. Give me 2-page paper to read. I will read, then I ask you to come and explain. That's what Buhari should have done. He should have confessed, I can't read long papers. I can only read 2-page, 1-page paper. Then you can explain. But please tell me the truth. Because if things go wrong, I'm going to fire you. And what you then notice is this, is that they don't give him the 2-page paper. So I doubt whether it is, but he listens to them. And when things go wrong, he doesn't fire them. Because if he does, how come that service chiefs, NSA up to now, they've stayed there for over 5 years? And things like he said, like you all know, things are getting worse. When the war with that sort of thing happened, he let them go reluctantly. And when they left, he made them excellencies, ambassadors. I wish I had that luck. I wish I had that luck. But I'm not lucky. Anyway, so.
And lastly.
But what I would suggest is that if you have ideas and you have friends in the military or in any of the think tanks, or even Elombah, you can publish. They do read, some of their advisors do read some of these papers, really. They do read them, I'm telling you, because there are some conversations like this. They listen to them and pick up some ideas that will not, affect their own position and, make whatever they can do with it and do with it. But as long as it doesn't affect their own position, that's what I discovered.
Sorry. Lastly, in the light of the various agitation in the country, how do you see Nigeria in 3 years? Did you hear the question? Did you hear the question?
Yes. We are talking about agitations in the country. Or what did you say? Repeat the question, please. Can you repeat the question? I can't hear you. Can you hear him? Can anybody hear him? Can you hear him?
Dr. Charles, can you unmute yourself and repeat your question?
I didn't hear your last question.
Right, I said in the light of the various agitation in the country for self-rule and so on and so forth, how do you see Nigeria in 3 years?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Oduduwa group want to do a republic. Some people are crying for Biafra to be reborn, and so on. The North Central people said, if that sort of thing happens, they are going to go. They are not going nowhere. I tell you, they are not going nowhere. Because we all know that what we needed to do is to create a federal system with subsidiarity, or at most, create a Switzerland type of government, a confederation. Switzerland, which is cantons and so on. That's what we needed to do. Now, the question is this, is that. It's not even a question. The issue is this. If you are a governor and you go to Abuja every month to collect free money, and you spend the money and you go back the next month, nobody has asked you, what did you spend that money I gave you last month? Do you want to change the system?
No.
Exactly. So the governors again, that's why I keep telling you, the governors are responsible for the situation in which we find ourselves, because there's no system of accountability in the system. None system of accountability. And that's why the issue of corruption also comes in. So we have a sort of, we're developing a sort of systemic acculturation of culture, okay, in which the governors do not want to change in their own time. All right. Because if you go to to Abuja, collect free money, come back, and you go next month to collect free money. Nobody asking you how you have spent it. You don't want the system to change. You want the status quo to remain. That's what it is. And then you can change your local government chairman anytime you like. You collect their money, you don't give them the money. You hold your state house of assembly. You do whatever you like with them. So there's no separation of power at the state level, none. Even at the federal level, the president dominates. So what sort of federal system is that? That's why. The governors can make things change, the governors. And we need to put pressure on the governors. I try to put pressure on them. Anytime I have an interview or anything like that, an opportunity, the governors can make the change we want. We need the change we need. And we need a change. And even Nnamdi Kanu said the other day that he only cannot form Biafra. He knows that. He only cannot form Biafra. Neither can anybody do on their own. But the elites in this country, are benefiting from the system. So they don't want any change too. They don't want any change too. If the elites and the governor decide they want a change, it will happen. It will happen. I promise you.
Okay, thank you very much, General. The next question is, it seems the bandits, people who are invading Nigerians, are way sophisticatedly armed than our security agencies. And we have recovered a number of times when they were arrested, but none of them has been processed. Is there a conspiracy collaboration between the military hierarchy in giving up sabotage and using the security intelligence gathering by these bandits, because they come in a town at will, adopt schoolgirls, and go back to the forest? And Governor Matawale of Zamfara State and Bala Muhammad of Bauchi even empowered them by his words that they should be carrying AK-47. In this case, do we also, the farmers, Nigerians, bear arms to defend themselves?
See, there's something you got to accept. People in security agencies are human beings, and they can be tempted. Okay, on so many occasions, policemen have been found to collude with the bandits, with the kidnappers. Okay, because there's an interesting story in Maiduguri of one of the very rich men who was kidnapped. The son was kidnapped also. The kidnappers asked for millions of naira, okay? And they were told to pay the money into a bank. When they got to the bank, the person waiting to collect the money was discovered to be a police officer. Could you imagine that? And the case of a doctor in Kaduna that was kidnapped with the daughter. The doctor recognized the policeman that killed his father. So you find, that's what I'm saying. Corruption too is a serious issue in our country. Very, very, very serious. And because of impunity, no, everybody will tell you that corruption is all over the world. Yes, but impunity is not all over the world. If they catch you in UK, no matter who you are, they will arrest you, take you to court. EFCC has so many files. The other time, when they said they were going to probe Tinubu, and they were asking for his files from Code of Conduct Bureau, what did they say? The files have disappeared. When Madu House was sacked, they found files of top politicians in Magu's house, which he has removed from the office. What sort of system is that? Lots of systems there. And nobody sees the report of any probe in Nigeria, whether at National Assembly or at government level. Nobody sees any probe. That is impunity. That is impunity. And if you continue like that, you can never improve the situation. You can never improve the situation. So, what can we do at our level? Again, if the governors do what is necessary, all these things will change. All these things will change.
Thank you very much, sir. I want to ask this one more question. We have witnessed exchange of money going into this forest. Even some of the bandits have come out and said that the government is arming them. In 1993, you deserted the government of General Sani Abacha. You criticized and engaged that government. You are against the dictatorship of General Sani Abacha. Are you against this government of Major General Muhammad Buhari, retired, of not combating this organized banditry? I call it organized banditry because a lot of confessional statements have been made that these bandits are being supplied with arms by the government that be. And if the government that be is not the military to shoot aside, and possessing AK-47. And over 2 weeks, getting to 3 weeks, we have not seen any military personnel or soldier or any other staff shot any bandits. We have widely also read in our national dailies that most of the bandits arrested were released. We saw the one that happened in Oyo State, where a Fulani warlord, otherwise known as Wakili, was arrested by the OPC-led Adams Ghanaian faction. And the operatives who arrested him were detained. And the warlord, though, has been litigated. He was given a parochial kind of treatment. I call it parochial because in the faces of people, Nigerians who are defenseless, they demanded justice, and that he ought not to have been pampered. So the way you also criticize Major General Sani Abacha, can you be able to say something about the Buhari government over this unpatterned and unprecedented insecurity by the bandits in Nigeria?
Yeah, but see, look at, the president has said, shoot anybody that's carrying a gun. So, it's left for the security agencies, which to me is inhuman. And I'm sure the security agencies won't do that anyway. Therefore, it shows you again the level of incompetence and lack of in-depth thinking about how to deal with the problem. The second thing is this also. When money talks in Nigeria, people listen. And I remember one time in the north, when there was a problem between the herders and the farmers, they said in the past, they used to call the two sides together, and they have a way of resolving the issue. Once the police came into the whole dialogue, money started changing hands, and they started having problems. So if you go to a police station today, and you don't have any money, forget it. You become the guilty person. The person that you're going to report about, if that person has money, you know, so you have a problem there. You have a problem there. That's why. Again, whatever you say, banditry, criminality starts from the community level. Deal with it there. It has to be from bottom up. There's no way out. It has to be from the bottom up. And the responsibility has got to be shared with the community. So if the community wants safety, they have to accept the responsibility. If they do not, then it is their problem. It is their problem. No, but if you live in a street in UK, in London, or anybody, people tend to watch out for the criminal elements in their community. And if they know, they let the police know. That's safety. That's what a community should be doing in Nigeria. That's what it is. You work, that's what you call law enforcement. You cannot do law enforcement without the community. You cannot. As far as OPC is concerned, it's a vigilante arm. Now, where does OPC get money to operate? Who pays them? Who pays them? It's a vigilante arm. And when Jonathan was there, he gave them a very big contract to protecting pipelines. And that is one of the responsibilities of the civil defense. That's what I'm telling you, there's a whole confusion. There's a whole confusion
Well, thank you, sir.
of a whole security system.
Well, thank you, sir. Let's call on Marcel now because we'll be rounding up in a few minutes. Let's call on Marcel to ask his question.
Okay, Professor, thanks so much. I've been listening to you. I'm quite insightful with most of your submissions. I wanted to ask, because what it appears to me looks like poverty in the land tends to drive a lot of these vices. Globally now, governments are thinking of ensuring a universal basic income for its citizens. And their thought process is that rather than use these monies to buy weapons to deal with criminals and all that, guarantee some level of universal basic income for every citizen. By that way, they will be dissuaded from crime. What's your thought about this?
Now, that is the new discussion that's going on around the world. Some communities, even in other states, and some parts of the world like Brazil under Lula, have tried that and it has worked, okay? But to me, again, I believe that if you try that from the state level, it can work. Instead of federal government doing that. And for that to work, it means that you need to have a very good federal system. Most of the states in the South have enough means to be able to generate enough revenue to do a universal basic income. Okay? But one thing we've got to remember is this, is that most young people, and it's always very interesting, in Lagos, who are Lagosians, turn themselves into area boys. Okay, but you see young boys from the north who come into Lagos, and whatever they can find to do, they do. The area boys are fighting traders, doing this, try to get money from them by all means. Even when you give them work, they are not ready to do. Okay, so the best thing would be to have universal basic income for families only. That's what Lula did in Brazil, for families. And they discovered that doing that to families do help a lot. And with that, they look after their children, send them to school, and do whatever is necessary. And some I even encourage you to start looking for work to be able to supplement universal basic income. In the United States, there's a lot of argument going on about that. And I remember a mayor in New York, one of the times in California, tried it with the support of the foundation, and it worked very well. And it's even encouraged more people to even look for work and say, stop, I've got something to do now. I don't want the money anymore. So It's an idea that is being pushed around in many African countries. But I believe that, again, you should start from the bottom. Once you start it from the top, corruption. Corruption.
Thank you, Professor. My last question, Danny, if you don't mind.
Yes, of course, go ahead.
Nigerian inability to be able to punish people who tends to benefit from proceeds of crime, because that is one of the basic problems. People steal and they're allowed to enjoy that money. You know, the moment we're able to put in place a system that will ensure that once you steal, you are not allowed in any way, because corruption is stealing. I don't want us missing words about it. Money that is meant for everybody, you took it yourself. It's pure stealing. Okay. So do you think that, or what do you think we can do to ensure, because to me, this whole thing is just one model of mess, because one man at the top just calls the shot and he punishes who and he lets go who he wants to let go. It just comes to me like a very crazy system. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
No, you see, when General Basanjo was creating the EFCC and the ICPC, we told him, don't do it that way. But because Obasanjo himself, I'm sorry to say, is a crook, he created it purposely that way, because he's a crook. And I remember in May 1999, the election, and we were discussing the issue. And I said, if I ever get a chance to be the head of EFCC at his farm, when he called a meeting, I told him, you are the first person to be probed. That's what I told him. You are the first person to be probed, you. Okay, so how can you create an anti-corruption organization and you have that anti-corruption organization in which the chairman and the chief executive are one and the same? Who is checking who? Two, how can you put that same person to be reporting to you as the president and also to the attorney general? And three, how can you bring a junior officer, assistant commissioner of police, level 13, 14, to head such an important agency? What is the track record of the person supposed to head it? What is the track record? And coupled with that, there had been a bill in the on the Code of Conduct Bureau at National Assembly since 1999 that Nadia Obasanjo and everybody that came after him bothered to push, because that bill says that all declarations must be made open to the public. All declarations must be made open to the public. The second thing was to create ICPC to dilute the power of the FCC, and created the ICPC to be exactly the same thing, chairman and chief executive. One is not a profit-making company. And we also told him at that time too that we needed an attorney general that will not be reporting to the president. We have what we call a public defender, as we have in South Africa, who is independent of the president. And on two occasions, President Zuma was probed by the public defender in South Africa, and the president one too was taken to court by the public defender for campaign finance problem. Can that will happen in Nigeria? And see how the Attorney General manipulated Magu out of the FCC and nothing has happened. So they are not serious about the anti-corruption something. And therefore impunity reigns. So if you're on the right side of the government, don't worry, you can steal as much as you like. Or they keep your file for the last 15, 20 years and nothing happen. Now, how can somebody like Fayose be walking about the street? That man, if he were in China, should have been shot. During the time of Jonathan, they carried the money in a plane in a plane to Ekiti, and they spent 3 days counting the money. Nothing's happened to Fauci. Nothing's happened to Fauci. And so many other stories like that. What sort of country is this?
General, nothing you have said here gives me any hope for the future. My final question, and then please, Paul, we round it up because our time is up. My final question to do, General, is this: it takes the silence of good men for evil to thrive. I don't know whether you would need to confirm this now. When your name was mentioned as being appointed to head our independent National Electoral Commission. Eventually, I don't know whether what.
You have to speak louder. It's raining very hard there. Very, very hard.
Okay. Why have you not accepted a federal appointment? That's my last question. Why have you not accepted a federal appointment to help put the system right? Because I learned some time ago, you appointed to Independent National Electoral Commission. Your name was mentioned. We heard that you refused to accept the appointment.
No. You see, if you want to be appointed to a position in Nigeria, you got to look at the environment. There's no need being appointed and you resign 2 weeks after because the environment is not right. Okay? And therefore, the things you want to do, you are not able to do it. Because even the people under you will do as much as possible to make sure that you do not succeed. Okay? Now, what we are saying, like FCC, we said, don't appoint anybody. Again, they have a system in South Africa. What did they do? They asked people, they advertise in the newspaper and ask people to nominate persons of integrity to be members of the board. Okay? For the chief executive, open advert so that anybody can apply. Okay. They wouldn't do that because after the election, the Badu that most journalists were praising and things like that, when the Badu left, he owned a house that cost 400 million naira. They asked the Badu, where did he get the money for to buy a 400 million naira house at that time? He said he borrowed the money from his father-in-law. His father-in-law was an academic VC of Ahmadu Bello. Where did he get 400 million? Oh, I tell you, that's the point. El-Rufai is sat in the Bureau of Public Bureau. They gave consultancy to a farm in Netherlands. Journalists went to look for the address of that farm. They found it's a church.
El-Rufai.
They found it's a church. They didn't know the name of the farm, but they gave the farm the contract, costing billions of naira. Nigeria lost about 10 billion from that deal. El-Rufai is a governor. It's a governor. If Fauci can be a governor, why not? I beg you, sir. It's a sad story.
Oh, God. Okay, I don't have any words to. All right, Otumba, please, before Paul rounds up. Otumba, let's see.
Thank you very much, Dan. A long time. Well, I joined in very late, but because of my my experience in all these kind of topics, I have a very good idea of probably what the honorable host must have been telling your audience. I can imagine what he has also gone through as a true Nigerian. But the one broad-based general question I want to ask him is, how long is all this going to go on? All these shenanigans, all this kind of open and effrontery of government after government, taking advantage of the people, messing the people around, doing silly things, and looks like people can't do anything. I have an Australian professor friend, and every time we had discussion, I say, Otumba, I've always asked you, what is if 1% of Nigerians are messing everybody up, what's the 99% doing about it? You happen to be one of the 99%. What exactly do you think we can do, and how long are we going to sit down and watch this kind of thing happening to all of us? Thank you.
See, on a general basis, we must remember one fundamental issue. Leadership and followership are both sides of the same coin. Leadership and followership are both sides of the same coin. Leaders don't drop from heaven. They are part and parcel of us. And we either nominate them, appoint them, or select them. So, like many people say, the type of leadership we have, we deserve it. We deserve that type of leadership we have. Because we see good people, we will not pick them. We pick people who have stolen money and give us trickle down some of the money. And then we complain. We complain. Now, our political parties too are called PDP, Party DC, Alliance of Political Groups. Okay? So when you have parties of that nature, like PDP now, they've been rotating, presidency. Suddenly they came up now and said it's open. Because they want a particular person to contest election. When they should normally rotate it to those who are supposed to have their own term, which is the Southeast, for example. Which is the Southeast, for example. Okay? So this is sort of thing that you discover. There's something wrong with the followership in Nigeria too. Something is wrong with us. Those of us who are followers. And except we change, again, it's a challenge. Followership is a challenge in Nigeria. And we need to do something about who the followers are. So that we choose the right people amongst us to lead. And what's so interesting in Nigeria also is that sometimes NGOs used to make a lot of noise. So some of them got into parliament. After they get there, they forget about all the things we were discussing. They forgot about all the things as soon as they became politicians. That's what usually happens. And when you know that you can make money without getting punished, so why do you want to bother here? Impunity is also a challenge because people don't care. But people don't care. And except we start caring, no. And that's why our present federal system is so bad. Because the state, the people in the state don't question their governors. The way they spend money, they don't. They don't question their governors at all. So the governors are semi-gods in their own state. And they spend the money the way they like. So followership is very important as a way to make things change.
Thank you very much, General Ishola Williams. It's been more than, I think, 1.5 hour intense discussion. So Paul, please, what's your final comment before we round up? Paul, or is there any other person who wants to? Okay, Paul, your final comment. Is Paul there?
All right, General Ishola Williams, we thank you very much for this outing, this outline of our present insecurity or security situation in Nigeria. I commend you so awesomely, and we also employ you in Elombah Television to also honor our invitation whenever we call upon you and other participants. Well, the present situation in Nigeria is unexplainable.
In fact, that in my own view and opinion, personal as a concerned Nigerian, I believe